Dean, thank you. Thanks very, very much. And thank you for your kind introduction. Also, thank you for your leadership and for hosting us here today. I understand many of you are from all over the country, yes? Mostly East Coast? No? How many of you are from California? Anybody from Oregon? One. How many from Idaho? We got one from Idaho? All right. Well, Washington State. Good. Arizona. It's like the Democratic National Convention here today, isn't it? All right. So it's a pretty good representative group of people who care very, very deeply about this issue. And I want to thank the Bloomberg School and also the President's Office and all those that pulled us together. I'll tell you what, the most important things that I've learned from other people who are already doing them when it comes to public policy. And in our busy, busy lifestyles, I think we do not take enough time to just pause for a second and talk one-on-one. We sometimes kid ourselves into believing that because we can email people or because we're networked or because we have more followers or friends on Facebook than we used to, that somehow that connects us. But there's really no substitute for being able to get together with other people that are practitioners that not only care about this issue but are doing things that work. So I know that you've probably had people talking to you all day, so I'm going to do my very best to be mercifully brief, and just want to kind of share with you a few of the things that we are doing in Maryland, and then conclude with what I believe is a new mindset that's required in order to accomplish so many things in the area of public health, public safety, that those common platforms that we share as Americans. For all of the diversity that we have and that we share as a people, I think there are certain things that unite us, and most important among them are the beliefs that we share in the dignity of every individual, and also in our own responsibility to advance and protect the common good. And finally, that understanding that we have that we are all in this together. And I think that there probably is nothing that so pulls at the heartstrings of all of us as caring individuals, so much as a child who is being abused or attacked or exploited. So this is an insidious crime. And it is one that I suppose as modern Americans would like to believe no longer happens here. But it is modern slavery, and others have spoken about it before. The primary elements are force, fraud, and coercion, sexual acts or acts of a sexual nature, and commercial sexual exploitation. We pride ourselves here in our state at being within a day's drive of 1/3 of the United States population. We have a port. We have 2 airports, we have I-95, we have I-70, and we also have major rail. All of those are good things for trade and good thing for commercial enterprises. But sadly, those things also make us a nexus for the trafficking of young people and the exploitation in child sex trafficking. So that also gives us an opportunity, though, if we're alert, if we are trained, if we are together, if we're coordinated, if we're well informed, and if we know the signs to look for, that puts us at the crossroads and puts us in a very geographically, tactically important place in our country. And so victims and traffickers recognize that Maryland is a hotspot for human trafficking, and the various agencies that touch and come in contact with vulnerable children in our state need to be aware of that as well. So that's why in 2012, we called a conference on combating human sex trafficking. And that conference drew over 400 participants, including 54 presenters, 17 workshops. It was probably not unlike this one, but it was all based within our state. The conference brought together attendees from various sectors, and in order to maintain our momentum and to build upon the relationships and the connections that were made last year, we are following up with an additional conference this year on May 20th, 2013. All of you are invited. So far, we have 375 registrants and 2.5 business days. And we've been able to do a number of good things since the last meeting. We had formed in our state in 2007 a Maryland Human Trafficking Task Force. And like so many things, it is an effort to collaborate and to coordinate and to communicate unnatural acts between non-consenting adults very often. People have to be forced to do this and forced to meet regularly in order to be effective. Our U.S. Attorney's Office has been terrific in leading this task force, has 5 different subcommittees, and among the various things that we have, and one of the great cases that they made recently back in 2013 was a Maryland brothel ringleader and operator who were convicted by a federal jury on sex trafficking charges. And this case had actually originated in the sometimes sleepy, quaint, beautiful chocolate box of a town, our state capital of Annapolis. But the Annapolis Police Department was alert, and it was subsequently investigated by members of the Maryland Human Trafficking Task Force. The defendants used assault and intimidation to prostitute women across state lines, harassed community members who attempted to assist the trafficking victims, threatened other pimps who they determined were competition, and confessed to the murder of their own employees and competitor pimps. A jury convicted Germán de Jesus Ventura, 35, a citizen of El Salvador, living unlawfully in our country and residing in Capitol Heights, of conspiring to transport and entice females to travel interstate for prostitution. The jury also convicted a co-defendant, Kevin Garcia Fuertes, 25, citizen of Honduras, living unlawfully in our country, residing in Annapolis and in Richmond, Virginia, of the conspiracy and sex trafficking charges. And 3 other persons, all living in Easton, previously pled guilty to their participation in the scheme. These cases are critically important. They're not easy to make, and they would not be made were it not for vigilant and alert frontline law enforcement and healthcare professionals, and also the willingness and the power and the leadership of a prosecutorial quarterback and investigative team to go at them and get to the bottom of it and bring these people to justice. One of the other innovations that's happened relatively recently in our state, as we work with other states, and by the way, I saw Governor McDonnell in the hallway as he left, and we often coordinate and cooperate across state lines on public safety matters, and I really want to thank him for taking the time to come up to Maryland, come to Baltimore. Hope he didn't get a nosebleed coming this far north. We hired a person in 2012 at GoCop, or whether with the Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention grant, and I know Tammy Brown is here somewhere today, our coordinator. And this is a full-time analyst to build capacity for a stronger statewide response. The Maryland Human Traffic Intelligence Manager's current projects include assisting and seeking information and trafficking investigations throughout this national capital region, facilitating not only meetings but the sharing of information across state and jurisdictional lines, establishing a Maryland Human Trafficking hotline at our Maryland Analysis Center, data collection analysis of victims identified by various state agencies, risk assessments, implementing confidential referrals, and developing a web-based database to house case and victim data, analysis of data from our various partners to compile human trafficking referral reports, analysis of Baltimore Police Department juvenile data sets, such as prostitution, arrests, runaways, missing children, in order to develop ever better intelligence so that we can have a more coordinated response. Part of that response involves that multi-agency effort to end child sex trafficking, which means better training of all of the employees in the Department of Juvenile Services and better risk assessments, especially of the young women who come through DJS. Just by doing a better risk assessment and asking the right questions, we identified 31 victims of human trafficking that we otherwise might not have caught had it not been for upping our game and training DJS and implementing that risk assessment tool. Similar tools are being developed for DHR, Department of Human Resources, and the very vulnerable children and families with whom they come into contact. Similar training also going on at our Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services. Our computer crimes unit at the Maryland State Police is conducting more proactive stings and investigations, and also our Department of Health and Mental Hygiene is also figuring out how they can get into this game, along with our school system. So, look, I'll leave you with this final thought. There are a couple final thoughts. In this work, I think we have to liken ourselves to an immune system. And an immune system is not strong because it outnumbers the bad actors or the bad bugs. An immune system is strong because it is better coordinated than the bad bugs. It comes together in a more intelligent and concerted way than the bad bugs. There is a whole shift going on now in public administration and governance in our country. And you see it coming up from America's cities. How many of you are from New York? Some New Yorkers here? New York showed the way with your police department, using open data, sharing information rather than hoarding it, rapid deployment of resources, effective tactics and strategies, the relentless follow-up, and all of it on the map that we share, so that these individual silos, at least their base would all land on the map. And then you could start running plays. You could start becoming coordinated. We have never been, until very, very recently, really, in human history, had the tools of modern GIS technology and the sort of information sharing that we do now in order to combat, whether it's the violent crime that New York showed other American cities how to combat. And by the way, take great pride in the fact that in Baltimore, between 1999 and 2009, following New York's lead, we implemented these same systems and achieved the biggest reduction in Part 1 crime of any of the major cities in America. You've seen Los Angeles do it. And now you see various cities not only using those common platforms and performance measurement to bring people together to combat crime, you see them using it across their entire enterprise. Nobody takes to it better, in fact, Dean, than public health officials who take to this sort of management, deploying resources to where the opportunities are, I guess because of the epidemiological background, take to it, in my experience, like ducks to water. A little harder for a lot of other public administrators, and this is why I think that is. There's always a fear of sharing information openly. We become very comfortable in our silos. We work very hard to build those silos. And so breaking down those silos is a scary thing, especially if people take pride in their work and they're in charge, and obviously they know that there's strengths and weaknesses in any organization. But over the long run, this is the shift that I see happening, and I think it will be a very positive development when it comes to combating child sex trafficking and human trafficking broadly. There is a movement away from the sort of leadership and public administration models of the past, which were often fundamentally ideological, primarily hierarchical, and very, very bureaucratic. Ideological, hierarchical, bureaucratic. You now see us in this information age moving to models of public administration and public leadership that are fundamentally entrepreneurial, that are collaborative, and that are relentlessly interactive and performance-driven. That's a big, big shift. But people make it happen. The common platforms make it possible, but people make it happen. What we need to strive for as we move forward on this issue and so many others, I believe, is an embracing of the technology that we have with a greater openness and open sharing of data that will allow us to be that coordinated immune system. There is no such thing as a spare American. There is no such thing as a spare child. Every person's needed. And this new transformation of public health, of public safety, of public administration is also a shift that allows us to be ever more personalized in building up and protecting the common good, in moving intelligently and with the performance-driven approach to a victim-centered approach that then allows us to connect the dots, that then allows us to protect the body politic that we all share, and that body that has the responsibility to protect every single child. Thank you all very much for your good work.